Hello and welcome to Bible Bites Daily. Today we have reached Numbers chapter 11, a chapter that unfolds with a lesson about contentment, the consequences of discontent, and the unwavering provision of our loving God. As we travel through these verses, may our hearts be open to the wisdom God imparts through His Word. We find the Israelites in the wilderness, a place of both testing and divine provision. Yet, as we explore this chapter, we encounter a poignant moment of discontent among the people. In verses 1 to 3, the people grumble about their hardships, and their complaints reach the ears of the Lord. The fire of the Lord burns against them, resulting in a devastating fire that consumes the outskirts of the camp. It's a sobering reminder that discontent not only affects our relationship with God but can also have tangible consequences. The lesson here is clear. Discontent can ignite destructive forces in our lives. When we focus on what we lack instead of trusting in God's provision, we risk losing sight of His faithfulness. The flames of discontent can quickly spread, consuming our joy, gratitude, and spiritual vitality. Now let's explore verses 4 to 9, where the people express their longing for the variety of food they enjoyed in Egypt. They reminisce about the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. It's a moment of yearning for the familiar, even if it means looking back to a time of bondage. Pause for a moment and consider the irony. The Israelites were enslaved in Egypt, and yet they romanticized the food they had there. How often do we, too, look back to past seasons, forgetting that God has brought us out of bondage and into a place of freedom? The lesson is profound. We sometimes sleep into the sins. We sometimes go back to our old ways, even when we know that God has given us the freedom. God has protected us from that sin and kept us away from it. Sometimes we lead into temptations. So that's one thing that we have to be mindful of. Discontent blinds us to the blessings of the present and distorts our perspective. God had led the Israelites out of slavery, yet their discontent led them to desire the very things that had held them captive. As we reflect on our own lives, let's consider the blessings God has provided us. Are we like the Israelites, allowing discontent to overshadow the goodness of our present circumstances? It's a gentle reminder to count our blessings, both big and small, and cultivate a spirit of gratitude. Moving forward to verses 10 to 15, Moses expresses his own frustration to God. The weight of leading a grumbling and discontented people becomes overwhelming. Moses questions God, wondering why he must bear the burden of the entire nation alone. In God's response, we witness His compassion and understanding. He instructs Moses to gather 70 elders, promising to share the burden of leadership with him. God doesn't scold Moses for his honesty, but provides a solution to elevate the weight he carries. The lesson is comforting. God understands our struggles and is ready to offer help in our moments of weariness. When we feel overwhelmed, it's okay to bring our honest feelings to God. He listens, and His response is filled with grace and practical solutions. In verses 18 to 23, where God promises to provide meat for the people, the Israelites had complained about the manna, the miraculous bread God provided daily. In response, God promises to send quail, so much quail that it would be impossible for them to consume it in all one day. The provision of quail serves as a tangible reminder that God not only hears our complaints but responds with grace. However, there is a cautionary note. In their craving for more, some of the people indulge excessively, and the Lord's anger burns against them. The lesson is clear. God's provision comes with the responsibility of contentment and moderation. When we insanely crave more, whether in material possessions, success, or recognition, we risk losing sight of the sufficiency found in God alone. True contentment is not found in accumulating more, but in recognizing the abundance of God's provisions. As we wrap up this chapter, let's pause to reflect on the lessons we have encountered. Disconnect has consequences. Discontent has consequences, both spiritually and tangibly. Earning for the past blinds us to the blessings of the present. In a simple example, that Israelites were craving for the food they had in Egypt now, and they are forgetting that they are free instead of being in a slavery. God understands our struggles and provides solutions when we turn to Him honestly. His provision comes with the call to be content and moderate in our desires. To conclude, let's remember the words of the Apostle Paul in Philippians. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation. Whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want, I can do all this through Him who gives me strength. To Him is the Lord He is referring to, and He wants to be in content with God in whatever situation He is in. So may we too learn the secret of contentment, trusting in the unwavering provisions of our loving God. Thank you for listening. May God bless you all in abundance.